Good afternoon. Today we are going to be talking about mindset mastery. And so this is our seventh jam session of the year, or maybe it's even more than that now that I think that. I think we're probably on our ninth jam session of the year. So we have mindset is such an important thing. In fact, I was just speaking with one of my clients recently who's a CEO of her own company, and um, we were doing a podcast. She was one of my podcast guests, and she was talking about the most important thing that she can do as a CEO is to maintain a strong mindset. And I can't agree with her more because our mindset can get in the way of whatever we're doing if we don't tend to, if we don't care for it. And so this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart because I spend a lot of time on my own mindset. I want to make sure that um, that I'm staying in the positive, that I'm staying in the uplifting, all those sorts of things, and recognize when I need to tend to my mindset. So I think that's really an important lesson for all of us. We're going to be missing Sarah Bonenkamp today. She's actually over in the land of Oz, and but she actually put together the deck. So she sent it to me as she built it on the way to, on the plane on the way over there, and she and I we split these back and forth on what the different pieces that we're developing together, and this was just her topic. And so Sarah is here in spirit because she's had a lot of input into what this content is today. And so let's just go ahead and dig in, and bear with me just a moment. Sorry about that. So we've talked about mindset in past jams, but this one is really going to be entirely dedicated to mindset. And it's how we look at mindset on an every single day basis. And, I know you guys have heard me talk about this in the past, is everything flows from the inside out. And that's why we spend a lot of focus really, really looking at the inside. What wants to flow from us? What's our heart saying? Who are we at our very essence? All these things really tie into how we are building and working on our mindset. And because I've worked with you guys as your coach, I know you all have big dreams. I know you have big goals, and you have big talents and potential to make a real impact on the world. And if you truly reach that full potential of what you want to be putting out into the world and what is pulling at your soul, you must become a master at mindset. And you know this, and today is a gift to really allow you to reconnect to this truth. So let's define it. Let's define mindset. So mindset is a set of beliefs or ways of thinking that determines one's behavior, outlook, and mental attitude. So, it's an important thing to really take a look at and just think, what are the beliefs that I have, the behaviors that I live into on a day-to-day basis that shape my mindset? And all of our success is driven from how we see the world. And I love this chart because it's a see, do, get chart. And if you think about this, all success is driven by how you see the world. You most likely remember this model, and you probably have seen it because we've used it in the past. And we're bringing it back today because it's a good tool to think about. It's a foundational reminder that everything we do is driven by how we see the world. And that's true for our mindset. How you see impacts what you do and the behaviors that you exhibit, and what you do impacts the results that you get. So it's simple, right? So it sounds simple. But the model is simple, but it's often not so simple to implement. And we often overlook when failure occurs and when success isn't coming to us like we've been envisioning, if something's kind of feeling sticky, if it's not flowing, this is a good place to just step back and say, how do I see things differently? How do I do things differently? What can I learn? Can I stop doing? What can I start doing? One of the things that I've noticed recently that I've done a lot this year is if something's not flowing, I would stop and I'd take this moment to say, what's feeling easy and what's feeling sticky? And in doing that, it starts to tell me my truth, and it starts to see where I might be viewing things in the world, where I might be seeing things in the world through perhaps slanted eyes, right? Something that's not, you're not seeing everything. And if it just all feeds into one another. And so how can I get better with my time management? This is a request that I often get from my clients, and it's how do I get better with my time management? What tips or tricks can you teach me? And when I get asked this question, people often expect me to come back with some, technical help. Use Outlook, use time blocking, use planners, all these sorts of things. But this isn't the first step if you want to the see-do model, and if you want to follow, get really strong results. The first step instead begins with mindset mastery. And so it's shifting the way you're seeing things. And you can have all these fancy tech tools, but if you don't shift that mindset first, then nothing happens, nothing changes. So the first step to getting really awesome time management, or anything that you really want to set out to do, I mean, you can apply this in any sort of a way, is to believe that you can. So it's that belief, right? Yes, I believe that I can control 100% of my time with ease, and that I am worthy of scheduling it how I want to. I get to decide. It's my schedule. It's my time. So that's a great way to look at it. So it's first of all is that belief, and we all have the same number of hours in any given day. So we get to choose that. And if you can cultivate a mindset that allows you to feel like your time is valuable and allows you to say yes to the things that you're in total alignment with on your purpose, remember, we're always going back to our purpose, then you're able to rock and roll with the tools and all the do actions that you need to manage your time. Simple, right? Yeah. So why don't we spend more time focusing on mindset? It's not sexy, maybe. Today we're here to shift us back to the idea that if you lead with your mind, all else will follow. There we go. So let's dig into the power of paradigm and how we can cultivate strong paradigm in our lives. Mindset is powerful. So see it, become it. Don't see it, don't believe it. You're going to fail. So really put this, this mind, I'm going to believe what I'm putting out there. And our greatest battles are those within our own minds. So a burning desire is to be and is to do the takeoff point where dreams begin and come into a reality. And just like all important things, your desire, your belief, your focus takes consistent, disciplined action. It means getting up in the morning and choosing how you are going to let your mind react today. And there's a difference between wishing for something and being ready to receive it. No one is ready for something until she believes she can acquire it. Your state of mind has to be a belief, not just a hope. It's not just a wishfulness. Its open-mindedness is essential for belief, and closed minds do not inspire faith, courage, and belief. I want you guys to remember that it takes no more effort to really aim up there to where you want where you're aiming high, to demand abundance and prosperity, and then it does to accept, a place of a lesser, playing small, not sharing, not doing what you want to make happen in your life. So, you can put your effort, you can put your mind on all these smaller things, or you can put your mind on what's most important to you in your life. And I know you guys have done a lot of work on your purpose. So just take a moment and tap back into that purpose. This is the purpose as long as you can come back to your purpose on a regular basis. And I recommend having it in a place where you can read it, where you can see it, where you can talk about it. Because the more you tap back into that purpose, the more you can say, yes, that's where I'm going. This is why I do this. And so it's a good way to really tune into where you want to go, where you want to take things. And so many people write a purpose and then they stick it in a drawer and they don't follow up with it. So if you want to reach your purpose, you have to intensify your desire. And that means you have to connect to your purpose daily. Yes, daily. And you can do it in all kinds of different ways. You can have it hanging on a wall. You can write about it. You can use the be do have use your journal activities to write about it. Why do I want this purpose? Why is this important? What's it look like? What's it feel like? And finally, have a list of things that you want to have on a regular basis that you're writing. These are the things that I want to draw into my life. And remember that impossible is not a word that fits when considering your purpose. Today you have the opportunity to tune into your purpose and intensify your desire. And you have to believe it is possible if you hope to really actualize that result. Our brains have this beautiful gift that when we magnetize those dominating thoughts that we hold in our mind. And I know you guys have heard me say over and over again, we get 60,000 thoughts in a day. And, 95% of them are the same thoughts that you had yesterday. If you are focusing on lack, if you're focusing on stress, if the worry, all the different things over and over and over on a day-to-day basis, what is it that happens? We attract more of that into our lives. So I want to pause here for a moment and just have you guys share a little bit about when you think about what your purpose is, what your desires are, how much time are you currently spending on a day-to-day basis looking at these? Heather, do you want to share?
Well, for me, it's hard to turn it off. I feel a tiny bit guilty saying this, but I would rather work on my purpose than spend time with my kids or my husband. And that sounds horrible. I know. I love my kids. They're awesome. But it just shows like how immersed I am in my purpose and how eager I am to make an impact and to start healing the world, helping people redesign a healthy life. And sometimes I have to pull back and try and pull back and remind myself to live in the moment and to be so appreciative of what I have right here in front of me.
That's awesome. That's totally awesome. And when you think of the mindset challenges that you have on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, what kinds of emotions come up for you?
Well, I feel like this is so timely, what you're talking about today, Cami.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you said success is driven by how you see the world,
mm-hmm.
and they get you. So I know I'm going to be successful. The clients that I'm working with are so excited because they're all experiencing progress, and they're texting me saying, look at my blood pressure, or my doctor is asking me what I'm doing, or I've lost weight, people are noticing, and they're super excited. And the mindset that I need to work on is my husband's. So he still has a little bit of a struggle, and he says, you can be very successful and earn $20,000 a year, but you're successful because you're helping people. So it helped him understand that to me, I didn't view that as success, that I want to impact more people
Right.
and be able to live comfortably. Like that is what success is to me. And so that helps him a little bit. But because he can't connect the dots, he struggles. But I also told him it's not his job to connect the dots. It's my job to connect the dots. And I see it, I believe it, and I know I can do it. And I am doing it. And so,
Yes.
so that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And so as this first year business owner, launching your business in this year, and one of those things that you could really be putting a lot of desire around is what's that income level that you're reaching out for, that you're putting out there, and you're envisioning what it looks like to be living in that at that income level, getting your income level back to where you used to be, and how many clients are you working with? How many people are you impacting? There's that ripple effect. That ripple effect is huge. It's what drives a lot of my own mindset thing. Is this, I want to make a difference. I want to create this ripple effect that's happening around the world. And, so it's like, what are those factors that help you drive? And I think the other piece there that jumps out for me, Heather, is, dealing with, I'm trying to think how to best put this. So with your husband, that can damper sometimes, right? If you've got, doubts or dropping in on your dream, right? Here's my dream. This is what I'm building, but you get these doubts dropping in. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, he's kind of a negative Nelly.
Yeah.
And so I explained to him, he said, well, even last night, I just want to make sure, Heather, that you're realistic. And I said, Randy, do you think I don't have an inner critic? Of course I have an inner critic. But if I choose to believe my inner critic, I'll never succeed. And I know I have the capability, the energy, the desire, the drive to be extremely successful. Yeah. And so should I listen to my inner critic? No way. Should I give it any time of day? Hell no. And yes, I'm being realistic, but I know whatever I put my time towards and my attention toward, I'm gonna succeed. And so I almost feel like I just, what, time will show him. Yeah. Time will show him. Yeah. And he'll get there. Yeah. And then he will be so proud of me. And frankly, my kids are already so proud of me with what I know about health. And they come home and say, Mommy, I'm so worried about so-and-so. They don't eat a healthy lunch. And so I'm so proud that they're aware. And the other day, somebody, offered my son some food, and he said, well, are there GMOs inside? And she's like, oh, I don't even know. And so at least I have their pride. My husband will come along in time.
Yeah, he will. And I love the strength that you're moving from, and knowing that I can't listen to my inner critic. I'm big on the inner critic work. And any of you who haven't seen the inner critic and inner mentor jam sessions should go back to those and listen to those, because I think they're really critical when you're making big changes in your life. There are going to be times when inner critic shows up. So I'm glad you're feeling that strength in there. How about you, Sarah? What comes to mind for you as far as where you are and thinking? When you're thinking of mindset, what are some of the things that are showing up for you?
I think I'd love to say, boy, my mindset is always just positive. And as was it Heather that's on the line as well?
Yes, it is.
Heather, you're amazing. You're like confidence, girl. That's awesome to listen to.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're welcome. I think mindset. I think that I have a pretty healthy constant battle between my beliefs, my goals, and my inner critic. I think that is on any given day. Some days are more successful than others.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, Sarah, I think that's really normal, by the way. I'll admit, there's days where it's like I get, self-doubts coming in or something, and it's recognizing it, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. And I'm not sure this is entirely on track with where you're wanting to take the conversation. So redirect me if I'm going off track. But I
Okay.
had an interesting thing that my husband said to me, speaking of husbands, a couple of nights ago. And he just looked at me and said, no one is going to believe in you if you aren't believing in yourself, right? Like if you don't set your own self-worth, no one else is going to set
Right.
that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, oh, that's an important mindset to keep in mind, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's a pretty simple thing to remember.
Yeah, it's that
So,
belief part, right? Even we were just talking
mhm,
about that. The belief is so important. So we have to believe in ourselves.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am.
Okay. And what do you do when you're recognizing that belief isn't as strong in any given particular day than it was yesterday?
Well, sometimes if I have the capacity to organize my day, some
Mm-hmm.
days I'll just say, okay, so this isn't the day you're gonna, send out a lot of communications to people and be in executive mode.
Mm-hmm.
This is a day you're gonna go concentrate on other things that don't require that level of mojo.
Right.
And so when I have the flexibility, sometimes I just let myself be in that
Mm-hmm.
space because sometimes I'm in that space for a reason. And
Right.
I think historically, what I've done in my career is just override it.
Yeah.
And if I don't have it there, then there's the self-criticism of like, come on, pull it together, right?
Right. Right.
So I'm trying to learn to flex because there's just some days you're more on than
Oh,
others.
totally. And what's really interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up because I think sometimes what we can do is we can tune into the rhythms of start to pay attention to what days or what,
Mm-hmm.
is there times of the month or different,
Mm-hmm.
as we move into new seasons. There's all these rhythms that we live in. And I think that's one of the beautiful gifts as women that we have is that we can start to think about when am I most on? When am I just most on fire and things really flow to me? I mean, I can get up some days and it's like I can sit down and words can flow from me like you can't believe. And the next day I get up and it's just not, there's nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you start to pay attention to those rhythms and those cycles that we live in because then we can start to build, our lives around what works for us and what flows easily for us on certain times. And I love that you can do it on a day-to-day basis where you can say, today is a better day for me to focus on, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a really great wisdom to have.
Thanks.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so these are just different ways that all of you can be thinking about how do you intensify that desire for what you're creating and pay attention to the rhythms, pay attention to what's working, what's flowing, and where our mindset is on any given day. So it's that gauge of, okay, what does my mindset need to be able to really be cared for? So let's keep on moving here. And, and this is so true. It's like where our attention goes, the energy flows. It's that consciousness piece. It's understanding that if we say, today, I'm going to put my energies, my focus on, these topics, this self-care, whatever it is your body needs to, be strong, on that purpose. So really keep putting your attention back to it. And that's a key piece to mindset mastery. It will start to really show up on a day. If you're showing up on a daily basis, looking at a strong connection to your purpose and your beliefs, what you really get is you get the desire and you get the belief, and what happens with that is magic. And that's where the magic and the sparks start happening. It's like things start flowing really, really easily. And that's, I think I've shared with you guys that flow was one of my words for this year. Was I wanted a lot of flow in my life. I didn't want to be doing the driving, the pushing. I wanted the flow. And that's how you do it is you pay attention to what's going on in your mind. You pay attention to what's going on in your heart. So we are the directors of our mindset. And here's a moment of truth, though. You are your only limit. You are too smart to be the only thing standing in your way. And I think this is the beauty of this is that we all have the ability to be able to, grab a hold of our mindset and, take it by the reins, if you will, and guide it to where we want it to be. And here are some ways. Here's 6 steps that you can really work on your mindset. So let's just take a look here. So fix your mind on exactly what you want, not generalization. So get really specific about what it is that you want in your life. And so if it's a dollar amount, if it's relationships, if it's whatever your specific thing is that you're really desiring, get specific and start to write it down. I'm a big believer, and you have to write things down. Determine what you intend to give in return. And I like that because it's like, that takes me back to the ripple effect. It takes, even what you were saying just a little bit ago. It's like, I know I can make a difference in more people's lives. So then it becomes an exchange of energy. It's not just about you getting all the time. It's about, it's an exchange of energy. It's how you resonate. It's what you're putting out into the world. Excuse me. And then create a plan and begin. And even if you're not ready yet, I mean, there's so many things that, we sit back and we go, okay, I'd really like, something that you're defining that you'd like to be creating in your life, but I'm just not ready to get out and start having this conversation. I need to have all these other things in place first. And, we're never 100% ready. Take small baby steps on a regular basis towards that goal that you're trying to set, and put it in writing and see your writing. And so you're putting it, I put that stuff up on my wall all the time. Say it out loud and say it often. Tell people what it is that you're wanting to do. And as you read it and as you see it and you feel it, you start to really believe it. It's like planting these seeds in your body just by making space to say, this is what I really, really want to make happen. I recently did a lot of focus on what is it that, what are some of the things that I want to be creating in my life? And I did it all around the eclipse. And it's like, what are the things I'm leaving behind? What are the things I want to put my focus on? And so continuing to put my focus on that on a daily basis really moves the needle. And it's fantastic how that works. It's that magic that I was just talking about. The other thing is to be continuously curious. If you are just curious about what helps my mindset feel better, are there things I can do in the morning when I get up that makes it better? Are there things that I can do in the conversations that I have that makes my mindset stronger? Are there partners that I want to tell that I can ask for that support? And Heather, I'll just even take your example that you just used, where I remember, when I was starting my business and I was like, hubby was like, yeah, this is great, but God, that wasn't a very good month, was it? And he would like catch into the cycle of lack or fear, and he would feed that. And I had to tell him, and he knows this so well now, he's like, I had to say, you know what? I need you showing up in me and believing in me, because that makes me stronger and better. So, get curious about what might they say to you? What might your husband say to you that helps feed that uplift? And, whatever it is that you can be curious about, try it out. See if that conversation feels right, if it feels good. And let go of the things that are serving you, or hang on to the things that are serving you, but let go of the things that needs to be replaced with something better. And it's a dance. So you're starting to experience, are there people in your life that don't fully support? And I'm not saying on husbands, but I'm saying on just in general, are there people that kind of drag you down and feel the weight, bring a weight to your shoulders that you're hanging out with? Or are there people that are lighting you up? And those are all choices that you get to make, and to be curious about, how do I feel right now with this? And if you want to master your mindset, you must also work regularly to understand your baseline paradigms, because these things shift for us, right? Our purpose doesn't always stay the same. Our purpose 5 years ago might be different than it is today. So just stop and assess and know what you're working with. Know if you're feeling low on the worthiness scale on any given day, ask yourself what might pick it up. What's my inner critic been telling me recently? What are my business norms? How are they serving me? What are my rules for doing business? Do I feel any rubs? Are there people that are just like driving you crazy, right? Are there people constantly crossing boundaries? I think that happens, especially for those that are out in the corporate world. If you've got people that are constantly stepping into your space, what's that do to your own mindset? Just these are questions to consider, and if you ask yourself these questions on a regular basis, it really starts to show what it is that you need to help your mindset show up. So are there questions you guys can think of that when you think about your unique truths, where you're on any given day where your mindset may not be showing up in the full strength that you normally do? Are there some questions that you might ask yourself? What contributed to this? Anything come to mind, Heather or Sarah?
I think about an interesting question, maybe it was somewhere I read once, but when you are asking, when you're not feeling in the right mindset, and you're maybe talking to yourself in a way that isn't as complimentary or as uplifting as it should be, is sort of, whose voice is it that's talking in your head?
Yes.
Like, whose voice do you hear?
Yes.
And I sometimes find that that's a pretty helpful way to stop and say, like, all right, well, if it's X person, do I believe in where that person's life has ended up? I mean, are they the people I would want to listen to? And what if one of my great friends who really believes in me was the voice instead? What would they be saying?
Right. Those are really good. And I like, and so often those, if we really dig back into those old voices that somebody told us, like a boss might have said to us somewhere, or our mom, or our, whoever, right? When those voices show up and you go, and look at, has that served that person well? Oftentimes, and most often, you're going to say, you know what? They're not living their life the way I'd like to anyway. And frankly, sometimes it's just flat out not true. I mean, I remember I had a boss once say to me, you're not very strategic on this. And so I carried for the longest time that I wasn't as strategic as I wanted to be. And then I started seeing, you know what? I can connect dots. I can make connections between all sorts of things that people miss all the time. And so I had to really, do my own work to know you are strategic. You get to see things. You can see things beyond the surface level. And it was a boss that had, kind of set me off on that for a long time. So I think that's a really great one. How about you, Heather?
Cami, what you just said brought back some memories. So for me, it's writing. And when I was in high school, I was on the school newspaper, but instead of a writer, I was the assistant editor-in-chief, because I thought, my writing's not so great, but I'm good at managing others. And when I launched my business and launched my blog, that fear resurfaced. And it was, I had two fears. I had, am I going to be able to figure out how to do my own blog, because I don't have anybody else to hand it off to, and that's with, you know, uploading pictures and so forth. And then, am I going to feel confident with my writing?
Yeah.
And that fear from high school that's been with me, I mean, like 25 years probably,
Yeah.
is, am I a good writer, or am I good enough? And I've really enjoyed, I think I've written five or six posts now, and I've really enjoyed putting them out there, because then it's free content for my clients. They can always go to my site and get a little more depth if they need it. And but it was definitely a fear I had to face.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, your writing is so full of voice. I love your writing.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
yeah, so it's old stories, right? What are old stories that we want to let go of and no longer serve us? So I think that's it's what we need to do. It's like, if we have old stories showing up for us, let's dig into them and create our new stories.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Another example of a mindset killer is, it's always been done this way, right? This is the way it has to be done. It's always been done this way. You guys can, it takes openness to really work on mindset. And, so if there's things that you get into, I think I've heard this recently. I think one of my podcasts that I just recently did, somebody said, change your habits up every single day, right? Drive someplace in a different way, or just see different scenery. So get open to doing things in a different way. And all of a sudden you're going to start to go, oh, you see things through new eyes. So I think that's a beautiful thing to consider, is really shift this thinking that it's always been done this way. And what if, it's that curiosity question. And consider outdated norms in your life around success and attitude and challenges. I think I've told this story to you guys, I think, a number of times, but when I started my business, there was a time where I said, oh, you know what? I don't want, I love what I do. I don't want to make the amount of money that I used to make in the corporate days. It doesn't matter to me. Oh, hell yeah, it matters to me. And I shifted things, right? I got out of that mindset, and it shifted everything. And so, or do you believe that you have to work, 80 hours in a week to be successful? What are those hardwired things those habits, again, that you've created that stick with you? And are there some things, again, that you might just shift, or you let go, or you see things through a different lens? So take a moment and read each, look through these statements that are here, and just give yourself a score. That 0, I never do this. 1, I rarely do this. 2, I occasionally do this. And 3, I always do this. So 0 is never, 3 is always. There's your scale. I take time to love on myself and my core, my mind, my body, my spirit, and my relationships, at least weekly. So that gives you a pretty good scope there to do that. So write yourself a score for that. People are naturally drawn to me and often want to do things with me just to spend time with me. Score yourself on that. I want to be more interested than interesting when I meet people. I have a specific plan for personal growth that I engage in weekly. Do you make space and time for this? And I have found experts and mentors for key areas of my life with whom I engage on a regular basis. And so it's interesting to go through And look and see, is there an area that you might need a little bit more focus on? Because all of these things shift your mindset. All of these things can really, the more we take care of our mind, the more we take care of our body, our spirit, our relationships, all of this will shift if we tend to the things that matter most. So just circle a one, that looks like, you make yourself a quick note. Which one do you need to go back and, put more focus on in the next, in the next week, and then, build it into your life on a regular basis. Here's some more. I'm continually working to try to make my actions and words consistent with one another. So go ahead and assess that one on that same 0 to 4 scale. I make courageous decisions and take risks that could benefit my clients and customers. I can read situations and sense trends without having to gather hard evidence. And I know I'm amazing and that my strengths and my talents and my gifts matter. So again, what are the things that you need to put focus on? So if you think you can, and then if you think you can't, either way, you're right. I mean, so it's like, it's so true. It's, if you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So just really breathe life into that can. Here's some common mindset challenges that we see all the time. I don't have time to do whatever. Again, you are the master of your time. We all have 24 hours a day. What is it that is most important to you? It's making choices. I'll never learn da 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 da, or if only I had da 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 da. So there's things that, these are just mindset, I want to call them traps, mindset traps. If you catch yourself saying these sorts of things, look for a way to shift that. And these are questions that you can journal about that really help change and shift mindset. I am a huge fan of I am, and you guys know this because I use it all the time. It's like, who am I? And it's part of the essence piece, right? But you could sit down and you could write out, in fact, it's really funny, I'm getting ready for our mastermind tomorrow for our entrepreneurs, and that is the slide we're starting with this question. Write down 10 things of who you are. I am, and it's basically you're acknowledging all that's wonderful about you. So just jot yourself a note to go down after the call today, as soon as we hang up, and write down 10 things of who you are, all that's wonderful about you. The things that I'm great at include, and if I were truly limitless, how would I be acting right now? What would, if there was no limits around me, how would I be acting? So great questions to ponder. And if you write about these things daily, just for 5 minutes, this can be a huge game changer for you. 5 daily reminders. Hang this on your wall. I am amazing. I can do anything. In fact, I will post these daily reminders on the Facebook group. I am amazing. I can do anything. Positivity is a choice, and I so believe that. I celebrate my individuality. Everything that is wonderful about you is those were gifts that you were born to have, and I am prepared to succeed. So I'll post those out there. Post that someplace where you can see it on a regular basis. And this is so true for me. They told me I am too optimistic. I told them my blood type is B positive. I love this, and it's I have always been an optimist, and it serves me well. And it's like I recently, in the last few years, I have done the Enneagram, and I'm a 7 on the Enneagram scale. So that's like it's like takes that whole positivity thing to the, very, very max. When I do Strengths Finders, positivity shows up for me. It serves me well. And that's why in my coaching work, everything I do is about, okay, let's bring out the positives of who you are. Because I believe when we shine that light on who you are at your best, that's what, really lights up the gifts and how you're meant to matter in the world. So I think I'm going to hang this thing on my wall. The art and energy of attraction. And I touched on this a little bit earlier. Who are you hanging out with? If you're hanging out with people that are like dragging you down all the time, think about that. And it's like, who are the people that light you up and make you feel good and give you this energy, and make some choices around that. And what is your attitude about learning something new? I think when we're learning new things in the world, it just engages us. It lights this spark up, and it's what helps us resonate when we are hanging around with people that we're excited about, and we are learning new things, and we resonate differently. We share energy with the people around us, back and forth. It's that exchange of energy again. And what is your attitude toward people who think differently than you? And so just be curious about that, because there's a lot of thinking differently right now. And if you put a lot of frustration in around, oh, that person thinks this way and I think this way, that's not good energy that you're creating. And what if you were to shift that? Get curious about if I was to be more open and shift that. So play with that a little bit, and be cognizant about how you are resonating, what kind of energy you're putting into the world, because you can shift that. And if you're putting out kind of nasty, ugly energy, which most people I know in this tribe are not, but if you find yourself on a day where it's like things are off and you're angry and you're spilling out a lot of angry words at somebody because they don't believe what you believe, it doesn't serve our world. It doesn't uplift things. So know that you always have that choice. And create a "This is happening" list. This was a list that I created earlier in the year. It's like, this is happening in 2017. I'm living in a flow. I'm not in a hustle mode. I'm and having great conversations with interesting people. That's my podcast, right? And it's like, that was one of the things I wrote down early in this year. I want to have these really amazing conversations with people that I'm really interested in learning about. That's the podcast. I'm doing things that light my heart up. I am engaged in community with really extraordinary women. So community was big for me. This is happening now. This is the list that I wrote early this year. I'm an essential and emotionally connected relationship with my hubby. I partake in ritual and mystic, and I make space and time for this. I love on my family. I'm healthy. These are all things that I wrote down early in the year. And if you write these down on a regular basis and you see them and you come back to them on a regular basis, this is where you see things and you shift that in that see-do-get model. It's like things start to shift. So know that it's the power that you have at your fingertips. And of course, the journal. Journal for me is certainly one of the best ways that I master my own mindset. And you can use "This is happening." You can use affirmations. You can write about your purpose. You can let creative ideas flow. And you can also catch yourself if you start saying, "I'm worried, I'm fearful, I'm da-da-da." Not that you don't want to write those emotions down if they hit, but not that you don't want to write them down if those emotions hit. Acknowledge them and say, what can I do that I can shift this? This is a choice I get to make. So our journal can give us so many clues if we make that a regular practice for ourselves. We always like to recommend a book. This is a great one, Good to Great. It's a classic book. But it's a great one for really thinking about business mindset. Are there books that you guys can think of, or podcasts that you've seen, anything that comes to mind that you love when it comes to mindset?
Is it Martha Beck Stargazer is a really interesting one around
Ooh,
mindset.
that is a good one. I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? I think one that comes to mind for me is always, and it's just because she's probably one of my favorite books right now, is The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. That one to me is, it's really good about saying, keep, if you're focusing on your purpose and you're striving for what you're wanting to make happen in your life, the universe gets all behind you, and it may not go exactly like we hoped it would. It's like our journeys are never this straight line. But if we keep putting our focus on that end point of where we want to be, what we're going to do is you're going to see it may jig-jag and it may go in all these different ways. But if you keep putting your focus there, the universe tends to open up doors for us. It gets us there eventually. So a great one.
Cool.
We have 2 more of these this year. Then the next one I'm very, very excited about. I've actually started mapping it out already, and it's the magic of ritual. And that goes back to, that was just one of those things that I wrote down when, what's that list of, this is happening now. How do I create more ritual? How do I create more mystic in my life? And that one's going to be coming out in October. And then your creative genius is all about opening up your creativity in November. So I thank you guys. Is there anything you guys want to add to, just kind of ahas that popped up for you over the hour? That what's the one mindset action that you're going to take after we get off the call today?
I liked the writing the stuff down.
Yeah.
So this is what I want. And I liked, what do I give in return? That seems because there's a lot of stuff around, this is what I want, this is what I want to achieve, this is all about me. And I think there's some generosity to thinking about what will you be giving in return for that. That resonates.
Yeah, that resonates with me too. Cool. Thank you. How about you, Heather?
Sure. So every once in a while, I annoy Randy by printing up little sayings and then putting them throughout our house. Like, for example, I typed up, "We're on the same team!" ! And then put it next to a picture of us on his side. He didn't see it for a couple of days, then he started laughing. It was good. But I think what I'm going to do is, we have a TV in our bedroom that we never use, and it's just up there. So I think I'm going to type or print up real large, "Think you can, think you can't, either way you're right," and have it there, so when he gets home today, he'll notice that. And it's, rooted in our conversation last night. I just think that's such a strong statement, and I really like it. So yeah, just some of the take homes for me are just these awesome sayings that are really inspirational. And then the other thing I want to do is print up my purpose. So I have my purpose all over my website, but I would love to have my purpose framed and put in, or maybe I'll paint it. I'll do something fun with it. And once I can kick my kids out of their bedroom and get them into another room, I'm going to make my own study. And so that's where it'll be.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I love putting your purpose in a way and doing it in a creative way. So like doing it with paint, I think that's fabulous. Just because it just entrenches it one step further, because you make it beautiful, and it's, it's colorful, and it's so it's that creativity certainly entrenches it in our soul in a deeper way.
It's one quick side note. I am putting together retreats for 2018, and I am contacting various artists right now. And part of that retreat will be painting a well life vision. And so it's kind of, mapping out what that is, and then painting and expressing it, and in a different way than just kind of writing it down. And so hopefully it will resonate. We'll see.
That's cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you both for participating, and thanks to everybody who's watching this on the recording side of things. I hope you got some good thoughts for really working on your mindset, and we will see you guys all next month. Talk to you
Thanks,
later.
Katie.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Katie.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.